Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for your support of Indie Agency News. You know what? I gotta put this thing up here. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Because we are talking about work. I gotta update stuff. We changed our typeface from this Acte. It's called Acte. You're getting my South Jersey pronunciation of it. And we went Helvetica because it's easier to read. This part's really nice though. We still love it. We love this logo. So thank you to Agency Noir, Arun and Company up in Seattle. When I say up in Seattle, it's because I'm in Portland. They've really helped us establish a classier brand than what we were. I had this, green box that looked horrible, and we all knew it. We all knew it. I'm not a designer. That's part of the reason we did top 40 design, is because I'm a bit of a design nerd. I can't do it. I can't design my way out of a paper bag, let alone anything else. Words, I'm fine, but design, no, not so much. But what I will say is this is a little bit of a, back in the 80s, you'd be getting ready for the Family Ties or whatever TV show was on, and then somebody would come in and it would and usually there was some gravity to it. So it was along the lines of, tonight on a very special Facts of Life. Yeah, I'm a moron. But in a very special episode of Indie Work, we're very excited to bring Klick into the mix. Our good friends, Toronto, New York. You got people all over the place. London, right? Yep, British. But let's go around the horn and introduce ourselves, because we got lots to talk about. So we're going to start with Andrea, and then we'll go to the gentleman.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Doug. My name is Andrea Bistany. I am a group creative director, dreamer at Klick Health, and I'm based in New York. Really excited to be here.
Nice. All right, gentlemen.
Hello, my name is Tim Jones. I am a South African living in the UK. I'm the executive creative director for the global offices.
Okay, I'm taking this off because I was blocking your head. So you know what? It's dumb. I'm just, I'll put a little lower third down there or something at some point. Rich.
Hey, Zanger. Rich Levy, Chief Creative Officer, Klick Health, in New York. Today, I happen to be everywhere all the time, but
all at once.
In New York. Yeah.
Right. Well, listen, looking forward to seeing everybody in Cannes again. That's where we had first met last year. And really, the kickstart of this was, let me pun it up. The click start of this was, I'm due for one groaner a show. It might be more than that today. But I had started seeing the work. And here's the thing about, about agencies in general, and this is a byproduct of being an editor at Adweek and being an editor at The Drum. There's so much going on that a lot of times it's really hard to keep up. And so when you are an editor at a big trade publication, chances are you are going to be following health agencies at holding companies. That's the reality, right? Or there may be some practices at other agencies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Klick, now that 100% indie here, got a chance. I started seeing the work, and then I saw the word independent in there, and I said, what? This is very interesting. So I started going down the rabbit hole and realized this agency is incredible. So before we get to the breaking news, I'd like you to give us a little bit of the background of the agency, because I think that context helps a bit here.
Sure. Klick Health was founded in Toronto 28 years ago as really a digital production company. And we were doing like back-end websites and emails and banners and all that kind of stuff,
right,
years and years and years ago. And then like most clients happen to do, like they would like knock on the door and say, hey, we need some help in some HCP marketing that we're doing. Physicians, do you guys do that? And Klick was like, sure, we can do that. Of course, they
Oh
had
my
no idea
God.
how to do it.
Right.
And next thing you know, we're doing HCP work. And then another client would be like, hey, we love what you're doing over here. Knock, knock, knock. Do you guys know how to do DTC? Sure, we know how to do DTC. They had no idea how to do
Oh
it.
my God. Yeah.
And they got to a certain point where, they were, growing really fast. And then several years ago, it started with, hiring Holly Henry to run the medical team, and then hiring me to run the creative team, and others, Carl Turner to run our strategic team. And then it really just started building and building and building to where we are now. I mean, we're the largest independent healthcare agency in the world. We're in, North America, South America, Europe, Asia. It's been a really, really fun ride. Yeah.
And Jonesy, how long have you been there? Sorry, I'm being very familiar with you now.
I've only been here for just over a year now.
Okay.
Yeah, running the UK and EMEA offices, so Paris, Germany, London, and then most recently overseeing APAC. So Singapore, we've got a great team in Singapore, and a growing team in Brazil as well. So yeah.
All right, nice.
He gets no sleep because he's I'm
on global hours.
4 different time zones. Yeah.
Jesus.
That's why my eyes are.
Yeah. So, Rich, where were you before Klick? And then, Jonesy, where were you before?
So, I was running the IPG Health Network. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah. And I was the chief creative officer of Klick Health in New York.
Got it. Okay. And then, Andrea, where did you come from?
I was at another independent. I was at the Block right before I came to Klick.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool. All right. Well,
and Andrea's been here 3 years now.
Yeah, it'll be 3 years at the beginning of June. So
I love it.
It's been a beautiful ride.
No, it's good. And I will say that, I had my lap around IPG land. So there you go. But listen, we're not here to talk about the past. We are here to talk about the now and talk about the future. One show was last night. Our good friends at the One Club, and this is during Creative Week. Props to Kevin Swanepoel. Props to Yash. Props to Adam. I know I'm leaving people out. It's still very early in the morning here, but yeah, they just do such a great job, and it's really fun to see. To see all the winners. But here's the thing. Klick Health became the first health agency to ever win an Agency of the Year award in the award's 52-year history. Yeah. Let me repeat that again. The One Show's been going for 52 years. When this thing started, I was 4 years old. And so in that time, I am now 56. No health agency has ever received an Agency of the Year award. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, how many pencils did you get? 27. 27 ADC cubes. 26 Clios. I mean, it's we're dipping into 2 Webbies, Gold International Andy. So let's go back to the One Show though. I mean, my math here. So if we combine the One Show and ADC, that's 54.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy numbers.
And then One Show's it's One Show's Independent Agency of the Year.
Yeah.
All right. So hit us with the, and here's the quote from Kevin. So, and Kevin Swanepoel, thank you. Klick Health's recognition as Independent Agency of the Year is a landmark moment. Not only is it the first time a health-focused agency has earned this honor, but they did so with an exceptional body of work. But here's the thing. I like that Kevin positioned this as health-focused, right? Because there are so many other components and possibilities of an agency of your high pedigree and high level of work. It's nice, health focused. I like that add to it, because if you say health agency, we start thinking Sky Rizzy, right? So, but talk, first of all, Rich, talk a little bit about just the energy and the vibe and your feelings overall about this honor.
You know, this has been a crazy week for us. You know, we are not used to this kind of recognition from the non-healthcare shows. I mean, yes, it started in Cannes a few years ago because what we saw was our work was winning more outside of the health categories, right? So, you know, last year we won in entertainment, we won in film and innovation, things like that. And so we saw that outside of health, our work was starting to resonate. And then that just feeds us, right, to want to do more and more and more and more. And it has been a very, very exciting time when you know inside the agency that anything is possible, then you start dreaming of bigger ideas. You know, there are two people who unfortunately could not be on the call today, Amy Fortunato and Bernardo Romero, who are integral to everything we do. I mean, Amy is Andrea's partner and, you know, is the writing half of virtually every award-winning piece that we've been doing over the last few years. But it's been an amazing, amazing week. You know, Bernardo Romero had, I think, the line of the week for us when we were talking about, you know, the first health agency ever to win an Agency of the Year at the One Show. He was like, you know, the first time in history only happens once. And it happened to us.
Yeah.
And we're like, it happened to us.
Yeah.
You know, and look, I've been really fortunate to work at some really great health-focused agencies.
Yeah.
And to be at Klick and know that our leadership, you know, because we're an independent agency, wants us to think outside the box. They want us to think differently. They want us to you know, to work with organizations that allow us to give back. The one thing that excites me about 2025 is that this year, for the first year in a very long time, and maybe ever, our client work, we're entering more client work than ever before. You know, and I'm talking about, you know, big pharmaceutical brands and things like that. So yeah, it's a super exciting time. We couldn't be more thrilled. We're super pumped up. Yeah, I mean, you know, I remember when you and I met last year in Cannes, you were like, wow, where did this come from? And I was like, well, it came from these people who you're seeing on the call. And it came from, you know, 300 others who are not on this call.
Right. And one thing also to remember about this, and you and I have talked about this, Rich, and Andrea, I'm going to ask you a question about this here in a second, is you've been there for 6 years. And one thing that people forget is that when somebody comes in at your level at an agency, and I could say the same thing about like a Jeff Benjamin at Tombras, you know, when you start bringing well-known, well-established people into roles at agencies, that there is this weird thing of, all right, it's going to be magic, it's going to turn on a dime. It doesn't. And, you know, and again, I look at somebody like Jeff. I mean, the work was great when he got in there, and Tombras just keeps hitting all these new levels. Rich, for you, it was, you know, 6 years in the making. Andrea, for you, you're coming in 3 years. I'm curious your perspective on how you viewed the work, where you saw the opportunities, where you could elevate it. And it does become a list of, we keep this, we lose this, we keep this, we lose this. Andrea, from your perspective, I'm really interested about, because you were there midstream. You were kind of getting there midstream. And so talk a little bit about your experiences coming in.
Yeah, no, totally. So it's interesting because, yes, I've been at Klick for 3 years, but my and Rich's history goes back much
okay.
Than that.
Okay.
So his story is even more interesting than you.
All right, good.
So Rich and I worked together when he was at IPGFCB Health. I was at Area 23, and that's where we first met. I had an amazing opportunity to go to the Cannes Festival in 2017, and that was a very magical year for me and really shaped the future of my specific career. And this is a special date for me because I think that pretty much started my journey to wanting to be part of this sort of historical moment. So Rich and I had kept in touch over the years, and it seemed like a serendipitous moment when I reached out to him about coming to Klick, and he mentioned to me this incredible opportunity. And, starting at the agency 3 years ago, right after Rich, how long had you been there when I started? A year? 2 years?
3 years.
3 years. Okay. So 3 years in, setting the groundwork, you had, rebranded Klick, new branding. And when we first talked, it was really about, okay, I'm here. We're going to now start to amp up the creativity across the board at Klick Health. And, that was something that I was really excited about. And then it just, I have been since 2017, been following the people in the industry, not agencies. I've worked at a lot of agencies. But I followed the people that, have aspirations like myself, see into the future and want something bigger than just the status quo. And Rich was basically bringing all of those people together at Klick. So, I've worked with Bernardo for many, many years. And when Rich spoke to me, he was like, I need you and Amy. So Amy and I came as a pair.
Right.
And, and then a year and a half, 2 years later, it was, okay, Tim Jones is coming. I'm like, Rich, are you really gathering all of my favorite and, by the way, the best people in the industry to work at Klick Health?
Yep.
So, the work that we produce is a product of the trust and the great relationship that we all have together. And I think that has just then, infiltrated into the agency. We are constantly working with other teams and other ECDs and CSTs to, amp up the work. And just to double down on what Rich says, the work coming out of all of our healthcare clients this year is unbelievable, and we're really, really excited to continue to take it to the next level.
Right. So it does bring up a good point, and we're looking at some of the award-winning work here.
Our voice can change the world.
I should mute this.
And for developing countries like India,
it helps
considered the diabetes capital of the world,
which
now
I
has the
think
power to save lives.
Fleeting. So. But let's talk a little bit about the
Voice
work.
to Diabetes,
So Best of
turning
Discipline
voice
was
samples
Voice to
into
Diabetes.
an equitable life-saving tool for millions.
I
A
mean,
major step forward in diabetes detection.
This
again,
team of
this comes down
scientists
to
built
like
an
design
algorithm
thinking
that can
and like
detect
what can
type
we
2
do
diabetes
with
just
X,
by
Y,
having
and
them
Z.
speak into their
And
smartphone.
Which is
I'm
insane.
completely
This is
blown
very
away
cool stuff.
Yeah, it is, and without
the
even pricking
thinking
your
of
finger
this.
or getting a blood
And
test.
honestly,
This is crazy.
This groundbreaking
this
innovation
brings
has
together
already generated
those things that
nearly
we talk
4
about
billion
that
impressions.
we
But
believe are
what
these
matters most
existential
is the
threats, as
significant
opposed to
impact
what
it
this
has on
is,
people's
flipping
lives.
that completely
India is
180
the diabetes
and realizing
of the world.
that this is
Unfortunately,
part of our
50% of
potential
them
as
are still
humans, but also
undiagnosed.
in
Voice
technology.
to
So
diabetes
talk a
will
little
be
bit
able to
about
give
this
access
campaign
to
and this
the
work.
1 billion people. who
Yeah,
have
look,
phones
this
and could
is
save
one of the
countless
benefits of
lives.
working for an
Our
indie
study,
agency.
published October
Mhm.
2023 in a peer-reviewed journal, analyzed over
Makes sense
18,000
of
voice
things that may
recordings.
not
We
pan
found
out.
unique features such as
So
pitch,
when
jitter, and shimmer,
the lab
enabling type 2 diabetes screening
started
accuracy
working on
of
this
89% for
technology
women and 86% for
3
men.
years ago,
Our study
they
distinguished the
had no
differences
idea
in
whether
female
they
and male voices,
said,
ensuring
"You know
equity
what,
throughout the
we think
entire
there's
process.
something
Voice
in,
to Diabetes has already helped thousands of
voice
people,
recognition, and then,
offering
of course,
higher accuracy
AI,
and personalized
taking
results
pelvic,
compared to existing.
So yeah, so it really, the combination of AI and the lab and everything helped us bring this idea to life. And then once you see the impact that it can have in the world, I mean, this is already approved in India, Canada. It's going through the regulatory process in South Africa, I believe Namibia, Nigeria, Brazil. I mean, you're talking about billions of people that this
Right.
can help all around the world.
Right.
And where you don't have to go get a blood test. You don't have to go to a physician's office. I mean, you can literally pick up your phone and talk into it. I think it's 7 seconds, and find out whether you have all the markers for diabetes. And the other thing that you should know is that this is already the research has already been done in other chronic conditions. So it's already proven that it works in hypertension, and it's being studied in women's health and many other disease states. Look, we can only make this into this unbelievable award-winning idea entry once, right? But this can help millions of people in millions of different disease states.
Right.
And that's what it's really all about, right? So again, being an independent agency allowed us to make this bet. And in this case, it worked.
Yeah.
Right? So super proud of this idea.
While we're here, so we've got Oberlin won the also.
When it comes to corporate boardrooms, it's hard to tell the difference between 1954
and congratulations to them as well.
Yeah.
we got to give props to the membership.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And actually we're going through and seeing what our members won, and but I mean, you're at the top of the list. So
Doug, but while we're on the other members, I just want to say that, look, I mean, you and I have talked about this. We are all huge fans of the other indies, right? I mean, we are huge fans of Rethink. I mean, when we saw LNC on the stage the other day, we were like, oh my God, and high-fiving with them. And, and obviously, Wyden, who's been killing it for, decades, and, translation and Goot. I mean, you can go on and on and on, right? But we are fans of them, and we aspire to do work as good as them. And so, even to be mentioned in that breath,
right,
it just takes our breath away, literally.
I know from your perspective, I get that, but then from an outsider's perspective, and I'm not saying this because you're members, I'm saying this because as a professional, I look at it and I go, of course, that all makes sense that they're in the same breath as us. So it's hard because you're in the grind every day. But and there are a lot of times when you're not able to take a step back and be like, oh, cool, you will. And you're going to take a step back. And I think that there's an appreciation and a confidence that comes with this, both from, the business side of it. Anytime you win an award, you're going to get some inbounds, of course. But what I'd like to ask, and Tim, maybe you can address this. What do moments like this mean for talent and attracting talent?
Great question. I was actually reflecting on this today. A few years back, I was invited to do a portfolio screening at the One Show during Creative Week. And I went in, it was about 4 years ago, and I had my little stand with my little name tag, Tim Jones, a health agency. And I had, I think, one person, one creative wander over to me, and he was like, "You're
not working on Skittles."
So I was definitely the uncoolest portfolio reviewer that year, and understandably. What's so great is that this year at Creative Week, every young creative wanted to come and speak about healthcare creativity, because we are doing the most interesting work, the most purposeful work, and I look at the young generation coming through. I feel like that's a huge draw card. People don't want to do stuff that is, maybe not as impactful or doesn't have much of a give back. And I really love that about this, fresh talent coming in. But also we're doing the most exciting stuff. Like, Voice to Diabetes is a great example. I mean, the fact that it won Innovation Grand Prix, beating Apple, and that's incredible. And that's a health initiative, and I think what Rich and Bernardo and Amy and Andrew and everybody is creating every week, every day, it's so inspiring, and it's become so easy for me to convince people to come. I don't have to convince anymore. Talent are coming in, and as I'm staffing up the global offices, it's my job is super easy. So thank you, Rich.
Andrea, I know you got to cut out, but congratulations. Well
oh my
done.
gosh. Thank you
Very
so
well done.
much. This was such a great opportunity.
Hey, we'll bring you back. We'll bring you back for a game show. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, we're totally.
I am really horrible at trivia or any of that. So if you want
awesome.
to back,
Perfect. Great.
then
No,
let's
great.
do it.
Perfect. Love it. Love it.
All
All right. Take care. And then Rich and Tim. So
Yeah.
I forgot to note that Kevin Swanepoel, also a native South African.
He is.
So we have Voiced by Diabetes, and then we have Café Joyeux for 47. Talk a little bit about those wins as well.
Yeah, I mean, Café Joyeux was one of those amazing moments where, talk about purpose-driven work, right?
Yeah.
The very first time we met with them, their CEO laid a stat on us that was 81% of people with Down syndrome are unemployed.
Right.
And that their whole purpose was to provide employment and life skill training for people with intellectual and developmental diseases, whether it be Down syndrome, ADHD, Tourette's, other IDD diseases.
Right.
And so we met with them, and in that very first meeting, he told us the story about Robert. It was the very, very first employee they ever hired, and they gave him his first job at 47, which became, of course, the title of our film. And when we then spoke to the team members at Café Joyeux, none of them ever looked at their life as a series of rejections. They all saw it as the world just wasn't ready for them yet. And that they knew that they would find something, or they would find their people eventually. And that when they find Café Joyeux, they love working there. They love the camaraderie. They love everything about it. And I can tell you, I've been to the cafe. It's there's cafes all over Europe, but the one in New York is at 52nd and Lexington Avenue. If you've been there, you got to go.
Yeah.
It is the most joyful place you'll ever go to get a cup of coffee. It's amazing. And when we were going through the process of creating this piece and working with our friends at Zombie Studios and Tanja Audio, having the footage at the end of the film of the real people getting offered their jobs, Café Joyeux, that's probably one of my favorite parts. Is seeing the look on their face when someone offers them a job. Is amazing. It's just amazing. And this was, look, the love and joy that was created. Every single person who touched this project, the designer at Zombie, his daughter has Down syndrome. Musician who re-recorded the music for us was a musician who had Down syndrome. Sound design was someone who had Down syndrome. So we didn't create it for the community, but with the community.
That's great.
And we were paying people to work on this project and providing employment for people with Down syndrome. So it wasn't just, hey, we're going to point to a problem. We're going to help solve the problem ourselves.
Right. No, I love that. I love that. It really is. It's excellent. All right, listen, we could sit here and talk all day, but you got stuff to do. I got stuff to do.
By the way, I just want to say one more thing. That the third campaign, American Cancer Story.
Yes.
When this guy joined our agency, it was probably 3 or 4 months later, we were in Los Angeles shooting that idea that he came up with. He found the statistic from the CDC, that said gun violence had overtaken cancer as the leading cause of death in America for kids.
Right.
And we turned that into American Cancer Story, and I could not be more proud of that idea. Thank you, Tim. Working with Manuel and Patricia Oliver at Change the Ref. Amazing.
Right.
So
absolutely.
They're winning clients.
They're winning clients of the pro bono client of the year today. So
fantastic.
Oh, we love that. Okay, cool. Listen,
Thank you.
Bask in it, enjoy, have some fun. I mean, you're in New York. Go to Cafe Joya. Get yourself. And I.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, we're going to karaoke.
We're doing
Oh,
karaoke.
okay. Okay. All right. No, that's fine. That's fine. No, I love what you said, and it's. I haven't been yet, but you've told me this before. It is the most joyful place to get a cup of coffee, and let's be honest, that's not always the case.
No.
If you're going to get a cup of coffee.
No.
Yeah.
52nd and Lex, you gotta go.
Gotta go.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, Rich, Tim, thank you so much. Really appreciate, number one, really appreciate your support with your membership, but also what you're doing to help inspire not only our members, but the indie agency community at large. So congratulations, a big mazel tov, well deserved, and we'll see you in Cannes soon.
Okay, Zanger, see you soon.
See you soon. Thanks.
Take care, man. Thank you.